Welcome back to the Dime Comic Bros podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, Spencer. I'm joined by Collin.
Hello.
Jacob had a bit of a personal emergency, so he is not in attendance this week.
He shitted his pants and had to run home, and then the poop monster was unhappy that he did not
Feed the poop monster.
drop his blessings into the bowl, so he has to deal with that right now.
Yes. So he still has to edit this one, though. That's always I like that experience of editing something when you weren't there for it. It's just so fresh. It's
I wouldn't
really
know
weird.
what that's like.
This is true.
Why buy a comic that might cost more than a dime? Come meet the brothers who are here to waste your time.
So this episode, we're reviewing Hellboy, the 2004 film directed by Guillermo del Toro. It was written by Del Toro and Peter Briggs. It is loosely based off of the first Hellboy story, Hellboy Seed of Destruction. It was released in 2004. That's basically it. It's a pretty straightforward movie, if I'm being honest.
It's pretty simple. I think the only thing that we can really talk about is like the little aesthetics and some choices, like how you were saying, like things that you noticed that they put horns on or like made to look like horns.
Yeah, so this movie is starting from the top. It's basically just a speed run through Seed of Destruction with some allusions to stuff towards the end of Mike Mignola's Hellboy run, which all of it wasn't published yet, so it has that Harry Potter problem in a sense where the movies had to draw on things that weren't actually written down yet, so it has kind of a weird feel to it.
I didn't know that about Harry Potter.
Yeah, they didn't.
Let's not get into that.
Not all the books were out by the time they started making the movies. So when you're making the movies, you don't actually know where the ending's going.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Anyways. So it has a little bit of that feel to it. But for the most part, it's a fairly straightforward... I would say it's an adaptation of the first story, but it treats it like the only story. And that's simultaneously something I can appreciate about the script. That it boils down most of what people like about Hellboy, and especially the Hellboy comics that were out at the time, into one story that is recognizable. But also, I don't like that it, in a sense, it kind of limits what you can follow up with, because they've kind of almost landlocked themselves with the way that they utilized characters. Because in this story, they killed off all the characters that were not actually dead by the end of Seed of Destruction that come back later in the comic. It's not like it's a bad thing. It's just it makes it unique.
They died in the comic before and they come back. Like Rasputin's technically dead, but because of his soul being in the tree of whatever,
Rasputin's always coming back.
Baba Yaga, his grandmother took him out. Blah blah blah. He's around for a little bit more.
It just makes it a unique feeling to it because it feels like a really cool distillation of where the Hellboy comics were at the time and kind of where American superhero movies were, because it's got a lot of that early 2000s energy, which I like. I like it. I don't know what the actual budget was, but it's got a fairly low budget feel in comparison to other superhero movies. I mean, 60 million. So that's a decent sized budget, but not for an action movie.
No, but they surprisingly did very well for their CGI and their practical effects.
The practical effects are fucking great.
And the CGI still kind of stands up. It still stands.
Yeah,
for, how well it is, especially since it was a lot of times they would, I don't know if they did this on purpose, but I would like to think that they did, where a lot of the CGI is kind of caked in shadow, kind of like how stuff with Jurassic Park was. The reason why things look so good is because you can hide things better, not because it's dark, but because you don't have to do as much light. Yeah. And usually that's what kills CGI, is trying to map the lighting out correctly.
Yeah, the lighting is always a nightmare. Yep. And that's the thing that ages the worst. And that's the thing about this movie, there are various chunks of fight sequences that are almost or near entirely CG, and they still hold up really well. Yeah. They don't come across as overly cheap or unnecessary.
I think the only times that I've noticed that it was cheap looking is when he's crushing the Red Bull can, where they didn't have to do that.
There's a couple of times where it is entirely unnecessary to do CG, and it was probably the usual reason why people do CG when they don't have to. It was a time or budget reason where they're fuck, we have to get this shot done.
There was that, and then there was also when his horns were coming out, the horns looked fine. I think that they made it so that they made you focus on that. But if you look at his fist looks really weird before it transforms. But that's fine too, because all the really important stuff, I think looked very good.
It does. The artificial environments are very they're big enough where it feels I don't know, it has the same feeling of the comic. There are large, expansive environments, but they don't try to overscale it. They're probably because Guillermo was already like a veteran of the film industry by then. Like he had an idea like how much you can get away with. Like as a director, you're supposed to understand how the budget works and like how much time and energy you have to put into different aspects of your movie.
Right.
And it's like you don't want to overextend yourself and be
Right.
like, look at this. We want this scene to be in this huge environment. It's like we don't have the time or money to render that or to create a set for it. So like there's a good amount of use of like on location stuff, like in New York City or whatever other place they're filling in for New York. There's a lot of fully CG environments, and there's a lot of stuff on like a soundstage, like the opening sequence, which is fucking phenomenal, is definitely like on a soundstage in a warehouse. But it holds up really well for a budget of that size. And the practical effects stuff is phenomenal.
Another thing that I really liked about this, like you were saying that this movie's kind of landlocked in the things that like it burns bridges for other characters to return, but things that were nice about it was that they kind of brought a lot of what was happening in Hellboy already, like the corpse that Hellboy uses to try to find like the entrance or whatever to where he needs to go. Is a part of. It's from that comic.
Yeah, because that would have been a recently published short story at the time.
And that's like they just take a lot of like stuff that's already happened and stuff that like people that are longtime fans would notice.
It's really good at using the iconography of the Hellboy stories, but not. I think it's something that actually leads to why the next film is stronger, is because it does that. We kind of fucked ourselves. Like energy where it's like we kind of used up a lot of the story in a weird way so we can't go back to it. But then the next movie basically has to be whole cloth, like original creations, and it is really good. We're not going to talk about that, but like it's interesting to see the greater context of how that worked out. Like there are other adaptations or like movie series where like they start you off with like familiar territory and then they kind of just go off the rails because they used up the, hey, you should get familiar with the world. This is kind of what you're working with.
Yeah.
And then they'll go to like the screenwriters like original writing stuff.
I don't think I agree with you where I think that they fucked themselves. I think they wanted to do that just because they wanted to make it coherent and like just finish that off and be like, okay, we can go on to like whatever's next in Hellboy universe. You know? Instead of like Hellboy, it's kind of like the comics, it's reoccurring characters, whether it's good or bad. It's just we get reoccurring characters.
Yeah.
But that's not always needed for a story.
For sure. The practical effects in general, the set designs are gorgeous. The character models are really good. I think Abe Sapien's costume design and the minimal CG they used to touch him up honestly holds up better than Ron Perlman's like Hellboy outfit, which looks really good. But
I was saying because it's probably to do with the texturing, and Hellboy is just like basically simply red.
Right, he's just a red dude with like a prosthetic face and like some horns and shit. Versus Abe's like a whole wetsuit, and that the amount of expressiveness that they captured in the 2000s with that is insane.
Another thing that I would like to point out with that is the like changing characters, like how they are in the movies, like the adaptation from the comics. I said while we were watching this movie that Abe Sapien in the comics and movies are totally different characters.
Quite.
And that's a good thing.
Yeah, because the movie kind of needs a comic relief.
What I was going to say was that it's good that they changed that, because in the comics, they're Hellboy and him and Abe are both like these kind of edgelord dudes. I mean, Abe's probably more edgy than Hellboy is, and Hellboy's more of like kind of a goofy guy in the comics, but they made it so that Hellboy sticks to his edge, and then Abe Sapien's just like kind of just there, you know. He's a little reading. He has more of a opposite personality. It's
weird to say because he doesn't play like the role of the straight man in the story. That's obviously insert FBI agent name here. That's the normal person. But the Abe is like more well adapted. He's more kind of well settled into who he is as a person and like how he fits in. Like he's even more alienated than Hellboy is, and he's a little bit funnier. He's a little bit more of a comedic relief, not like wholesale, but he's just kind of there. Like he's just chilling, doing his own thing, and I think it contrasts well. instead of having to, similar characters going through somewhat similar arcs at different periods in their lives, now you kind of have the contrast of what, like, Abe has been through crazy stuff too, and he's just doing his own thing. He's not terribly worried about a lot of stuff. Versus Hellboy is all, I'm 14 and dad grounded me, anger,
Pretty much.
I think Liz is really really well done. I like that they expanded her role from the comics a little bit. I like the allusions that the comics have to her importance to him, but she doesn't play that much of like a starring role very frequently after the first couple of issues.
Well, actually, they didn't. She didn't really become a starring role until it was the BPRD, where she's like a huge part of the Apocalypse. But that was like way after this.
Yeah, and that's what I like about it is I think it's a good idea to pull that in because you don't have.
I think it almost inspired that for. I think I would go as far to say that it almost like kind of put that little seed of destruction. That was bad.
I hate you.
I don't know why I even did that. I was just gonna say seed and go destruction. So I feel like it. I might. I feel like it planted that little seed in Mike's head. Be like, oh, she could be like a huge part of like the Apocalypse.
I just like that it instead of the comics had the opportunity had the ability to have her play that kind of role, like just in the back of Hellboy's mind all the time, because it was an ongoing thing for decades. You didn't have to. You can let the audience fill in how they want her represented. What her personality is like, because she doesn't appear that many times in the first few books.
No, not really.
Yeah, like it's just enough, and you can let
part of the team.
Right, like you can let the audience imagine their perceived history, but in the movie you can't really do that.
No,
there's already so much that the movie has to do because it's a very fantastical setting with a lot of crazy characters. So instead of leaving it up to interpretation, it just hammers on it, and I think that works well for the movie. Just having a more clear through line for their relationship. The fire effects don't hold up that great, but it's still cool.
But we're not going to talk about that.
I like that it's
fire
blue.
Effects like barely.
Fire effects never hold up well. I like that they're blue. I think that contrasts well because I don't know. I like the contrast of the blue versus Abe's like turquoise to Hellboy's red instead of her being like orangey red like Hellboy.
I like that as blue. Do we really have anything else to say about this?
Not much, honestly. It's really solid. This is kind of a comfort movie.
Yeah, no, it is. I when I was watching this, I never thought I'd say this. I was getting a little bored because I recently just watched
it's one of those movies where it's easy to remember all of the beats too. It's a pretty straightforward narrative. It's got clear characters. It's a pretty simple script. And I think that's the thing that is more impressive for me as I'm older now, and I've read through the Hellboy comics a few more times, is Mike Mignola had like zero involvement in this movie.
Yeah.
Guillermo del Toro just knows the comics that well, which is really cool. And then that's, I think, the thing that makes it more than the technical filmmaking or the performances. I think that's the thing that makes it so enjoyable to watch is it's made by a fan who is also a filmmaker. It's not made... Something I've complained about numerous times recently. There's a couple of horror franchises that are having recent entries made by like fanboys, but they don't seem to have a great track record on making movies. They just are like gooey. They're just oogling over the franchise itself.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I like is it feels, it's not like, oh my God, I get to work on my favorite thing and they want me to do a movie. It's more like, I want to provide my services to this franchise I like, Like it feels like, this was something, I have no idea how the behind the scenes on this happened, but it seems like this could have been something that Guillermo was like approached for, maybe. I could see it going either way. Like he came up with a story idea and he pitched it to the studio, or they're just like, oh, we know a guy who likes Hellboy too much. And then like they went from there. It feels very one-minded. It doesn't feel like it has a lot of interference or mandates on it. It's just a fun action romp. And that's all that it really needs to be.
Yep.
That's honestly all there is to it. And I like that there isn't too much to analyze to it. It doesn't... The next movie has a lot more to it. And I like that it started off... Not easy. But it didn't feel the need to jump out the gate with like a big franchise builder. Like, look at all the world building and there's so many things. And it's like... It's just a story of an angry monkey man. Like, that's it. You could just leave it there and it's fine.
It's just about a talking dog, dude.
Yeah.
Do you even know what I'm talking about?
Nope.
Interview of the old Scooby-Doo movies. The guy that plays Fred.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, Like
Freddie Prinze Jr. is so funny.
Like the girl that plays Daphne, she was like, it's not for just for boys or just for girls, about people. And he's like, story about a talking dog, dude.
Honestly, despite the fact that those movies are not very good, the cast for those are great.
Yes.
The cast is fucking hilarious, and they've all gone on to have really cool careers otherwise. Like, Freddie Prinze Jr. and Matthew Lillard are, like, treasures to humanity.
Yes.
Like, dude, Matthew Lillard is gonna be Purple Man.
I have to stop you.
He's gonna be Purple Man.
Yes, I know this. I have to stop you.
You have to pee.
No, because I want to move on. We keep going on tangents.
So moving on from Hellboy.
Because you're like, I don't think it needs to be overanalyzed. It continues to overanalyze. I'm like, you're just pulling shit out of your ass that I heard you say 5 minutes ago. That you're just saying in a different light. What have you been reading or watching?
Fine. Lead with me. I read Iron Fist: The Shattered Sword. It is a paperback that collects the issues 1 through 5 of the most recent Iron Fist run from 2021.
Yeah, how'd you like that?
I like it pretty good. So it's written by Alyssa Wong with pencils by Michael YG. So there is another... I think I mentioned this when I discussed the last Iron Fist book. Danny Rand is no longer the Iron Fist.
Yep.
He willingly gave up the mantle for a whole host of reasons, in continuity and out of continuity reasons. Basically, Marvel's kind of trying to let the Asian cultures in Marvel Comics actually be portrayed by Asian characters. And there's the mystery for this run is, who is this new Iron Fist? In the actual run, it's not really a mystery for more than like 2 pages, but the marketing for the series was all about who's this kid who's the new Iron Fist. It's Swordmaster, who's a character I have zero familiarity with, but seems to have a really crazy backstory.
That sounds hella familiar. Don't say anything yet. Hold on.
His comics are very like manga-esque, like not necessarily in terms of style, but like story tropes. I've only read him in one thing previously, and that was like a tie-in to the Death of Doctor Strange event. I wasn't a big fan of that, but you know,
Swordmaster, Marvel.
He's been around for I think about 20 years now. He's not a new character.
I've heard of him, but I've never seen anything of him. That sounds so familiar.
He's not very popular.
No.
He's just kind of always chilling in the background, but it's an interesting thing because I was I wasn't really nervous about it, but I was interested in what Marvel wanted to do with either temporarily or permanently, like how they're going to maneuver around shifting the title to a new character. Is it going to be a whole new character? Is it going to be a character we've seen before? Is it another one of the, another Iron Fist supporting character that gets the, like, how is that going to play out? And I think they did a good job with this. Like I said, I have very little familiarity with Swordmaster, so the fact that I like the character by the end of the book, that's kind of a good sign. Mm-hmm. I want to look into his other stuff because he's a really crazy backstory. Basically, he's like destined by his family lineage to have this sword that traps demons and shit, but he busted it up really bad, and now there's shards in his arms. So he's got like dual powers going on. It's it's pretty cool stuff. I don't know. It was just. The twist is revealed by like page 3. Like he takes his mask off and then we see who it is. And it's like, oh, okay. So instead of the story being about some mystery, it's not actually about Danny Rand. Thank God. That was the thing. I was like, oh, it's going to be Danny Rand having a mystery romp trying to find out who it is. And it's still an Iron Fist book with Danny Rand as the main character. And it's like, that would defeat the purpose of changing the title to someone else. And it doesn't do that. Danny Rand is in the book for the first issue and the last issue, I believe. He's relevant. He is trying to figure it out, but like it's like the Z plot to whatever's going on, which is really cool. The action is phenomenal. Like I said, it's pretty manga inspired. Lots of really cool panels. A couple of good double page spreads. The art in general is phenomenal. Very vibrant color choices. Really good texture work. The new Iron Fist outfit is fucking awesome. The only thing I have 2 negatives for this thing that are really 3. One, it's a limited series, and I think that's cringe. They didn't just make it a new ongoing.
Weird.
I get it's comics is kind of in a little bit of a not like a 90s slump, but like we're in a little bit of a slump right now. Sales are kind of low. Blame the MCU probably.
Probably.
So I get that sometimes you don't know if it's going to sell well enough, but it was really disappointing. And 2, the run doesn't end in this book. It ends in a crossover that's not in this book. It's so fucking annoying. So at the end, basically, there isn't much to spoil, but basically this character has a dead brother who it turns out isn't dead, and he's a bad guy. I know.
That's
very,
manga.
very manga trope.
Very sounds much like Devil May Cry.
Yeah. And this guy is bad. He's trying to like summon all the demon lords and like whatever.
Yeah, sure.
And instead of it finishing off, this feels like it would have been like a 6-issue run. It is a tie-in issue to an event, which is annoying, but I get happens when there's a major ongoing event that deals with realms and dimensions and stuff. You know, you kind of have to pull in all your runs, but it ties into the Avengers, X-Men, Eternals crossover event Judgment Day, which I'm hearing good things about, but they don't include that tie-in issue in this book because I know he's not relevant to the main run. It's just, what are the other characters doing at the moment that might be vaguely related to the event? That's always what like the companion books are like, you know? And it pisses me off so much because this book was already $17 and now I have to go look at the companion book. Like, it's one other fucking issue. You should have included that. And then this story would be complete. So now it feels like I got ripped off. Even though I really like the story, I don't have the ending. His evil demon brother teams up with Loki, which sounds really cool, but you don't get to see any of it because it's in the other issue. Yeah, just cutting off the finale is such a cheap move. It really fucking annoying. I do hope this does get continued, though. Now that the Judgment Day event is over, I haven't looked into it, but I do hope that they do continue with this version of the character. And if you want to have him and Danny Rand both be Iron Fist, like, I have no opposition to Danny Rand being the Iron Fist. I get the concerns, though. I think it's more important that Danny Rand, in continuity, like, understands the fact of why people don't like that he's the Iron Fist, and he does. Like, that's been a thing for like 10 years now. Like, he knows he just literally went to fucking Nepal, stole some people's culture, and then ran away with it. Like, he knows that. This is a well-established thing in the comics. He feels bad for it, you know? All the fun stuff. So if they want to do like a two different plot lines in the same story, you know, just an A plot and a B plot, I'm fine with that. I think that could sell pretty well, and I would like them to do that, honestly. I'm confused what the point was, because they did a good run. I think it sold okay. It has a pretty solid reception. Ties into an event, and I have heard nothing since. And it's like, are you going to restart the run? Are you going to just trash the whole thing, make Danny Rand the Iron Fist again? Like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yep.
Marvel editorial, not really the issue with the book.
Yep.
I bought it at Jetpack for $17. I would say get it on sale. It's really just because it doesn't feel complete. For the entertainment I got for the book, it was worth the price. But because I now need to go track down another issue, it just, the hassle is really annoying. Right. Good book to read, though. It was very fun, for sure. And that's really what most of the martial arts focused books need to be, is they need to be really fun and very, very good action. Very smooth. Good kicky slappy slap.
Kicky slappy slap.
What have you been doing?
Ow, I have glasses. Don't do that. So I watched recently the Demolition Man, which is a story about a man who is a cop who is been chasing this black dude. Surprise.
That doesn't happen in real life.
Who is like basically Black Joker.
What?
He's like Black Joker.
Bloker. Yes.
Yes, he's Bloker.
Oh my god.
And he's been chasing him for 2 years. Eventually caught him in this like big building, and he's trying to find these hostages. And he's like, the hostages aren't here, blah, blah, blah. I killed them all. He's like, no, they're not. And then the building's about to explode. So he gets the bad guy out of there because he wants answers. But the bad guy's like, haha, you let all these people die. And he's like, what? What do you mean? And they're like, the other cops are like, there's bodies in here. There has to be like 38 people. And so like he's being tried for manslaughter, blah, blah, blah.
Oof.
Because he didn't try to like get back up or anything, blah blah blah. He's just a shitty cop.
Yeah,
he thinks he's cool. But the thing is that they treat it like he didn't do any wrong because the people that were in there were dead already. Because before he went into this building, he did like a heat scan or whatever, and there was no heat signatures from people picking up, so they were dead already. But he still let the building explode, like he didn't care, or whatever.
Weird.
Anyway. That's just the beginning of the movie.
Demolition Man is a fucking crazy movie.
It's shit. Demolition Man, which stars Sylvester Stallone and Wesley Snipes. They are put into a cryo freeze for 75 years, and they come out to 2032. to find a world where it's fascism, where anything that's bad for you is illegal. They use three seashells to wipe their asses. No
such
toilet
a weird
paper.
detail.
Every franchise is owned by Taco Bell because of the franchise wars. But there's nothing bad because Taco Bell taste is like better for you now because anything bad is illegal. And
The way you're describing this is so funny. This is not the way I would have described it at all.
well, this is what I got. This movie has like no substance. Basically, there's Demolition Man. He is brought back because Wesley Snipes got taken out of cryo freeze for some reason, and he has all this great knowledge because the guy, the fascist man, who's running this whole like city, or I think it's just like the city that's like this, or I can't tell if it's everywhere, but it makes it seem like it's only the city that's like this, where it's like a city state, and the whole place is run by this one guy, and he's the one that made their way of life, and blah blah blah, and he brought him back because he doesn't like the underground people. Because the underground people want to actually live their lives rather than being told what they can or cannot do. They want to swear because, oh, guess what? You get penalized. You have to pay a fine if you swear, and if you keep swearing, it's an offense, and the cops come get you. And guess what they say? They firmly say, "Come with me," and you're like, "Oh, I'm a little cookie boy. I'm scared of the cops." And the cops don't even like fight anyone. They don't know how to fight because it's illegal to kill or fight. There hasn't been a murder kill since 2019 in this world. So no one's ever died of anything other than natural cause for years.
Strange.
Apparently.
Smells like a lie to me.
Everyone's coded. But yeah, big fascist man doesn't like these guys because they won't live his life, and they're all dirty, and they all want to do what they want to do, and they keep stealing food because they're going hungry because they're not accepted up in regular society. Basically, there's all those things going around. Sylvester Stallone's trying to stop Wesley Snipes. He befriends the dirty rat people. Wesley Snipes gets some of his bad guys to kill this fascist dude because he's sick of him telling him what to do. And Wesley Snipes can't kill him because he's coded in his brain that he can't, and he's supposed to help him. Wesley Snipes dies by freezing to death, and Sylvester Stallone kicks his rubber head. That's ice, but it's rubber because Hollywood. Kicks his rubber head, and he's dead. Also, sex. You don't have sex in this world. It's all VR chat.
Oh my god.
It's all VR chat.
The incels would be very happy.
Because having sex, you can't have sex. You're not supposed to have sex physically because STDs and having fun and blah blah blah.
You can have sex with your VR girlfriend.
Oh yeah. Or also, you can't have a baby. You have to have a license to have a baby, and you go to a lab and you get your liquids purified and make a tube baby. Fucking weirdos. And
That's nice. That smells like eugenics. That's nice.
Yep. And then, by the end, when it's all happy, honky dory, the sewer dwellers and the people that are all like up in like in normal world, they're like, "What do we do now, Sylvester Stallone?"
He's like, all right. I think you guys need to get a little dirty. You guys need to get a little clean. And we'll figure out everything in between.
Wow.
And that's how they end the fucking movie. And then Sylvester Stallone, like, rape kisses his, like, partner.
That's nice.
Yeah, because, like, they were having sex, VR chat sex, and he's like, "What is this? Why don't we touch each other? Blah, blah, blah." And she's like, "Ew, that's so gross, you gotta leave." And by the end of it, he, like, does that stupid, like, sailor kiss thing.
Oh, so he just pulls, like, a Deckard.
Yes, he pulls a Deckard, and she's like, "Oh, I kind of like that, tee-hee."
That's nice.
Yeah, because everyone in this world's a virgin.
Literally,
everyone's a virgin. I just realized that. Everyone's a virgin by these lads. They're all virgins. Even though at one point in this movie, like, he's trying to watch a movie, Sylvester Stallone's trying to watch a movie or whatever, and this naked chick pops up on his phone and, like, goes right to the screen. And she's, like, talking to this person, and she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, you're the wrong person." Like, covers up her fat tits. And it's like, so there's VR chat, no having sex, but show off your body.
So you don't like this movie?
I hate this movie.
I actually really like it. I know it's bad, but I find it very funny.
I wanted to like it. The jokes were bad. It's funny, quote unquote funny, because it's cringe. I wanted to like this movie. And it's lucky that I'm giving it 1 star out of 7.
Wow.
Because of Bloker Wesley Snipes.
Wesley Snipes is very fun.
Wesley Snipes.
Those...
He was the only one that was like genuinely funny.
Yeah.
I think he was genuinely like he landed the jokes and stuff. Sylvester Stallone's like,
accurate. Yeah.
What's her name? What's the name in what's the lady's name in Rocky?
I don't. Adrian.
Yeah.
Dude, Sylvester Stallone, when he's given the right material, he can do a phenomenal performance, and then the other half of them are just absolute garbage.
Suicide Squad.
Wait, was that actually him?
That was him.
That was Sylvester. Wait. Did I forget that? Am I stupid?
Yes, I'm a simp.
Holy fucking shit!
Yes!
I forgot that. Holy shit!
Yes.
Yeah, like he can Tulsa King, the show that's on Paramount. It's actually really good. Like when he's given the right material, he can fucking nail it. It's just sometimes he doesn't, and it's really bad.
Well, I also think that was just like his early in his career, anyways, and also the movie shit.
Yeah, poor direction.
It's like George Clooney doing Batman and Robin.
Oof. Yeah, like you can't even really blame the actor at that point.
I can't even blame George Clooney.
It's just bad direction.
Yeah, it is bad direction. It's a shit movie.
I agree. It's kind of a guilt. That's an actual guilty pleasure.
I wasted my time and like $4.
You rented it?
There's no other. That was when I forgot I knew how to pirate.
Why did you watch it?
Why did I watch it?
Yeah, why did you just randomly think about... Why'd you go out of your way to watch this?
Because I saw some Wesley Snipes clips, and I thought they were funny. And I was like, yeah, I'll check it out. And also, I like future stuff.
Yeah.
And so...
it's a very incoherent world.
So, I would say I rented it for like $4 on Amazon Prime. I would never do that again, so I would recommend people either pirating it or stealing it from your dad's basement.
Your dad definitely has this in his basement.
Definitely has this.
My dad loves this movie.
My dad does not have this movie because he has good taste.
Oh!
Yep.
Does he?
He actually has really good taste in movies.
Weird. I guess it's genetic.
6.5 hours later.
Because, like, The Menu, like, again, it's one of my favorite movies. The only reason it got knocked down was because there's so many, like, really high-profile movies I was looking forward to. It was my favorite movie. I had no idea was coming. And it's like the whole movie is it's pristinely crafted. It's really intricate. And then at the end, it's like, eat cheeseburger. Like, that's the movie's like, sometimes you don't have to be a pretentious asshole, even if you're right and it's cool that it's so pristinely cool and whatever. Sometimes it's okay to like cheeseburger. And that's
why I was saying it was good.
Yes.
Because it took it so seriously, and then it goes to this. And it's still being serious. But it's also like it's that simple to satisfy someone because it doesn't need to be deconstructed. Another thing that I took it as a message, like I haven't seen the movie, but I cannot help but go anywhere on the internet without clips. So I'm getting on it. Don't worry. And where she's like, I don't want this deconstructed bullshit. I want to enjoy something.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, we don't always have to deconstruct movies or deconstruct everything.
Yeah.
Just enjoy something because you want to enjoy it. Like
yes.
Batman Returns.
Something. Yeah, like
it's a fucking I know those movies are dog shit. I know that. I know it's stupid, but I can't help but like it.
It's just one of those things where...
But you cannot have that opinion with Batman and Robin. I'm sorry, you cannot.
No,
Batman Forever is a different story.
Yeah, Batman Forever is like it's actually like fine.
It actually has a theme.
Well, no, it does. It's just the movie as is currently released. It's fine. I guess I can enjoy it. It's fine. It's fine. It's really good with a few drinks.
It did more for Bruce Wayne Batman's character than
the two Burton movies did.
Yes.
It just didn't have the footage. It just was edited into oblivion.
Moving on.
What else? Wait, no.
You're next. I just talked about Demolition Man.
Yes, I know. You know what else is next? A new Spider-Man. I read Spider-Man Bloodline. So
my fucking word.
This was a book I forgot existed for a while. I forgot. Because this was a really high-profile thing when it was announced, and then it like fell off the face of the planet. Turns out, because it was bad. But this was written by J.J. Abrams and his son Henry, with art by Sarah Pacelli. I'm not going to trash the book because it's fun. I give that. It's not abysmal. It's just not good. It definitely feels like it was mostly written by Henry, and then JJ had to put his stamp on it to get it made.
Yep.
You know, it feels like a nepotism book. It feels like JJ Abrams called up some people at Marvel and was like, hey, my son has a Spider-Man story. I want to work with him on it. Can you get us an artist to help? And I'm okay with that. Like, I'm not opposed to that. I'm okay. Like, I would rather encourage, because I think his son's like 15 or 16 when he wrote this. Like, I'd rather encourage him he's a little younger than us. I'd rather encourage him to get better than, like, just trash him.
Oh, his, like, 16-year-old kid did this?
Yeah, no, like, his son. And then,
I thought this was, like, a 20-something-year-old guy.
No, like, it was his teenager.
Oh, never mind then. Don't trash it.
Right. It's, like, it's not great. It's got that, it reeks of inexperience more than anything else.
My comic will, too.
And it was co-written by J.J. Abrams, so I don't know who did what. I don't know if he just rubber stamped it or whatever. Basically, this book takes all the stuff from Amazing Spider-Man that people didn't like, and that's most of this.
No.
So, okay, here's the deal. Spider-Man, so there's this new enemy. The enemy's bad. I don't even remember their name. It's just a dude. It's nothing exciting. Mm-hmm. So they, Peter and MJ are married. They have a son. I don't remember his name. I think his name is Sam or whatever. And MJ dies. A villain just straight up murks her in like the first 2 pages of this book. And then it jumps forward like 10 years. So Peter is no longer Spider-Man. He's a washed up dad. His son doesn't know that he used to be Spider-Man. His son is always staying with Aunt May because Peter's always working or whatever.
Aunt May's still alive.
Yeah, she's pretty old. Peter's like mid-40s probably. Yeah, and then all the plot stuff happens. Basically, turns out his son has Spider-Man genetics because, of course, which does, I guess, make sense.
Yeah, makes sense.
But like, his son has Spider-Man powers. He meets a girl from his school, and they get into shenanigans.
Ooh.
And it's not exciting. And then he dresses like this girl, like they go to like vandalize some stuff. And this girl gives him like a cheap, shitty Halloween costume for like Spider-Man.
Spider-Man 2099?
No. Basically, he puts on his dad's old costume and she's like, well, that doesn't fit, right? That's like, where'd you get that? Like Party City? Because the whole book is really convoluted. And that's the thing that really drives me crazy is there's a handful of cool ideas, but it's borderline incoherent. Basically, he gets caught up in shenanigans. He finds out his dad used to be Spider-Man. Peter is fucking pissed. Peter is lost an arm. Like, he's gnarled the fuck up. His wife died. Like, and the kid's doing the whole, oh my god, Dad, no, you need to be... It's like Spider-Verse, but bad. It does the whole, washed up ex-Spider-Man needs a young person to remind him why he's Spider-Man, and like... I really wanted to like this. I really did. It was a weird idea. It was cool that Marvel was doing another out-of-continuity story with a weird creative team. But, MJ ends up coming back and having Spider-Man powers. Peter dies at the end of the book. There's so many things. It does the, Spider-Blood lineage stuff.
Yep.
And the, you're predestined to be Spider-Man stuff.
Yep.
And it's all bad. I hate that. I've always hated that. I barely even like the spider totems idea, from the Spider-Verse comics. I'm kind of iffy on it. Sometimes it's okay, but not a fan. And when the plot actually kicks off, the tone rapidly changes and it gets very goofy. They meet Iron Man, who's also a washed-up alcoholic, hardcore, he's drunk the whole book, which I thought was funny because all the Avengers are dead, all his friends are dead. It's an interesting spot, but they play it way too much for comedy. I get it's a book about a 14-year-old, so you don't want it to be that dark, but they play it they don't even really explain it. It's in the future, a lot of battles have happened and all the Avengers are dead. And then Tony Stark suits up for 5 minutes. Riri Williams is in the book. She was actually fine. She's his assistant at Stark Industries. She has her own suit. The book wants to have themes of responsibility and legacy and perseverance, and just none of it lands. On the bright side, the art is fucking stellar. Sarah Pacelli is one of my favorite, semi-realist artists working. She mostly does work with Marvel. It's gorgeous. Some of the designs are very overdone. I don't like the villains. The villains are abysmal. Let me get. They're old Stark Tech employees. I'm not even joking. It feels like a joke. But the art is really good. The proportions are well done. The facial expressions are phenomenal. It feels very Marvel, you know? There's a vibe. It's vibey. You know, DC books.
So she dies by while Spider-Man's fighting aliens.
Sort of.
Aliens from aliens.
Sure.
That's what they literally look like.
Kinda, yeah.
Not kinda. Look at that.
Yeah, I know. They're very H.R. Geiger designs. So you know how DC books kind of have a vibe to them, especially right now. They all have a somewhat similar aesthetic, which I enjoy. Marvel books tend to also have a similar aesthetic during each phase of their publishing initiatives. This book feels like a Marvel book. It has the vibes. It's got that, what Stan Lee used to say, like the world outside your window. It's got really good Marvel energy to it. I love Sarah Pacelli's art. But oh my god, the story makes it unbearable. The designs get crazier as the book goes on. There's some stuff that doesn't land, like the villain design I don't like. I don't like some of the spider suits at the end of the book.
I already hate how this is starting. Like, Spider-Man is that fucking weak.
It's weird. I don't get it. His kid's kind of annoying. He's not an unbearable protagonist by any means. He's just kind of bland. I don't know. It has a lot of the stuff in Spider-Man books I don't like. Over-reliance on the Avengers, currently pushing Tony Stark really heavily because of MCU-related connections. Has a lot of... It's got MCU-style quips, which is only a vibes-based thing. Yes.
She comes back?
Yes. And she's got powers. It's a whole thing. And that's what I mean, is like this book, it's 5 issues long, and it goes through so many plots. It's insane. It's a book I really wanted to root for, but it was just really disappointing. I really like the Spider-Man design, though, for this book. The regular suit, when it's not destroyed to fuck, I really do think it looks good, and I think it looks good on this kid when he like kind of grows into it. I like the vibes. It's just... not a big fan. Yeah. So I bought...
So MJ was one of those things?
Yeah, she died and was like absorbed into the hive or whatever.
That's fucking weird.
It's weird. And that's the thing with most of this, that I hesitate to call all of it bad. It's just so weird, and the different ideas don't mesh together very well.
Yeah, I'm not liking that.
Not really. But like...
Is there anything else you want to say about it?
Like, that's a good suit design. It's clean.
It's
the regular. It's
literally the same suit.
It's an updated. It's an updated Ditko design. It's just I really like her line work. It's very sharp. He stands out well.
Yeah. It's cool.
Yeah. So this is 5 issues long. I bought it at Jetpack. It's $18. That's a lot for this. This, I feel like I'm going to keep it because I don't like throwing away stuff I buy.
Yeah, no.
I feel like I would put this on a coffee table. It's cool to flip through. The art is really nice. Almost all the time, even if I don't necessarily like all the designs.
I feel like I'd put that on my shelf and never mention it again.
Yeah, it's just...
And if someone asks, I'd be like, oh, yeah, that's I don't start there.
Yeah, no, it's just... Yeah, it's very bizarre. Yeah, it was colored by Dave Stewart, which is always great. He's one of the GOATs, so...
Literally one of the 2 people that colors everything in the world.
Yeah,
I swear my trees behind my house are colored by him because he colors everything. Everything I see. So, is that the end for you?
For that one, yes.
Okay. So, I guess my next topic point will be Chainsaw Man episode 3.
Oh boy.
Because I talked about 1 and 2. So basically, this is just I guess I'll give the 2-sentence synopsis that it has, which happens to be Denji picks his new dream. Power, the Blood Fiend, offers to help him if he rescues her old pet cat, Meowie. So, Denji is just basically just, again, wanting to touch boobs and wanting to be with Makima, and he's just, introduced to Power, who is the Power Fiend, and so they both are set on to patrol the city, and they're kind of left alone to be kind of trusted to be alone, even though they're technically being watched all over the place. They have a small jurisdiction that they're allowed to go around. They can't like go off into like another town or another city or whatever just to hang out, unless if she is signed out. She has to be signed out because she's a fiend. He, on the other hand, there's no actual written restrictions for him yet. He's going off of like word of mouth from like Makima, and of course he will listen to her because he's a little cucky boy that wants to touch boobs. And so after going on patrol and being bored and whatever, they leave, and because he wants to touch boobs, and hold on, I'm trying to remember this correctly. Right. So he's talking about his dream, wanting to touch boobs and whatever, and she's like, I'll let you touch my boobs if you help me find my cat Meowie. He's like, eh. And so he helps her find, she knows exactly where the cat is, because the cat was taken from her by the Bat Devil, who, basically, she's tricked into getting him new blood all the time, before she was a part of the Devil Hunters organization. And she tricks Denji into going there, knocks him out, and brings him there to be eaten by the devil, so that this is like her last time having to bring someone there, and she gets her cat back. But it doesn't work out. She's not allowed to have the cat back. She's too weak to even fight that devil, but Denji's inside the stomach, turns all chainsaw, and fucks him up. And he thinks that he's all set, because right before he gets fucked up, he's like flying in the air. The Bat Devil's flying in the air. He's like, aha, I have my arms back. I can do whatever I want. I can kill all these people. I can kill all these children and women because I love their blood the most, blah, blah, blah. And then he gets all fucked up. And then both of those two get taken away from the Devil Hunters. And they're on patrol again. And then they have to fight the Bat Devil's love interest, who's like a tapeworm devil, and it's disgusting. Like this devil is like one of the strongest that they fought, because she's ginormous because of how powerful she is and how many people are scared of like tapeworms and shit. Because that's how it works. The more scared they are of you, the more powerful devil you become. Wow. So they do battle, big fight. Denji's losing. But he's like, all these other people are trying to like get her, and she's like, you're too weak, blah blah blah, and so like something to do with like, your dream's too weak to fight me, you're too scared of me, blah blah blah. And he's like, well, all your dreams must suck, because all my dream is I want to touch boobs, so my dream's the most powerful dream. And so he goes and basically is like annihilating her, and then he loses too much blood, so his power is weakened. But they're saved by my favorite character, Aki Hayakawa, who all he does is he takes his right hand and he makes a dog-looking hand gesture and looks right through the hole of the mouth of the dog, and he goes, "Come," and a giant fox devil's head comes out of nowhere, chomps on that shit, and that thing's dead. And that's basically that episode.
Chainsaw Man is so fucking weird.
It is weird.
It's so weird.
So it's it may sound boring, but it's actually entertaining.
Oh, I know. I watch it.
I know. I'm talking to and it's like it's almost slow for the first couple episodes, and I felt like it was slow in the manga too when I was first reading like these issues that the anime is like adapting, but it's just going uphill from here. This show is so good. Spencer can concur.
It's so good. It's so fucking weird. I swear, this is the weirdest anime I've ever watched.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. Other than the weird sussy shit that I turn off immediately because I realized I went to the wrong side of the internet.
Yes.
No, it's the weirdest thing that I'm okay discussing that I talk about.
I love Chainsaw Man.
It's great.
Who's the character that you like the most right now?
I mean, it's Denji.
You like Tenji the most, the main character?
Yeah, I'm boring.
Dude, I love Aki. Aki's such a shithead. He talks to his fucking sword, and he's like, "How many years do I have?" And sword's like, "You got 2 years, bub." He's like, "Fuck." And he takes a pack of cigarettes, starts smoking it, and he's like such a clean freak. And I just like Aki. He's such a dickhead. Anyway, that's my second talking point.
You're a dickhead.
I am a dickhead.
I read Superman Last Son. It's a reread, actually. I haven't read this book in, I think, 3 or 4 years. I didn't realize I had it on my shelf. I accidentally bought another copy.
Jeez,
I'm dumb.
What are you gonna do with your second copy, dude?
I already got rid of it.
Good.
I don't remember what I did with it. I think I gave it to somebody.
Wow, I'm surprised you didn't sell it to somebody.
I don't have the energy to sell shit. Yeah. So this is, there we go. This is a in continuity post-crisis Superman story. So this is, when did this come out? Like 2008. 2007, 2008. So this is Action Comics 844, 845, and 846, 851, and Annual 11.
Oh my
so this
fucking
is
word. Those are a lot of numbers, buddy.
So during the mid to late 2000s, DC had all their ongoings collected into books that weren't necessarily like numbered. They were given titles, which is very annoying for collecting. But it would be like, this arc is just called this thing by this team, and then the next book would just be, it's by an entirely different team half the time. So whatever. Basically, this is co-written by Richard Donner and Jeff Johns. I can tell who has which parts of the writing, but that's a different story. This was one of the last things that Richard Donner did before he passed away as well. So this is, it also has art by Adam Kubert. Adam and Andy Kubert are also some of my favorite artists. They're phenomenal. They have some duds here and there, but they're very good. They both have a lot of that Frank Miller, but in the good timeline energy. Very blocky, big, chunky stuff. They do have distinct styles, the two brothers, but I do like Adam the most. A rocket ship lands in Metropolis containing a boy that Superman thinks is Kryptonian. He is Kryptonian. And then he has to figure out what it means to protect him. And this is kind of a test run of sorts for Jonathan Kent, who would be coming shortly after this. So Superman and Lois are, they're married. They're already together. They've been together for ages. And this kid crashes. He causes destruction because he's confused. He speaks Kryptonian, which Clark doesn't, but his brain translates. It's a whole thing. He kind of learns it through sign language. It's very strange. Kryptonian's weird, man. But he, this boy gets taken by the feds. And Superman's like, "Hey, no funny business." And then they're like, "We promise." And then Superman wakes up the next day and they're like, "Lamau, we did funny business."
Lamau.
Yeah. So it turns out this is the son of General Zod and Feora they're currently in the Phantom Zone. So I believe this is the first post-crisis meeting of those characters and Superman, if I remember correctly. So we're getting a little bit of some of that Richard Donner Superman and Superman 2 energy going on. So they basically, they don't love each other. They just had a son because, genetic supremacy, blah, blah, blah. And this kid, he learns how to kind of fit in with humans a little bit. He's like Clark and Lois's, they pretend he's like their third cousin or whatever. So they basically pseudo-adopt him for a while until they can figure out what to do with him. Superman literally kidnaps this boy from the feds because the feds are like, "Haha, we hit him actually." And then he's like, "Yeah, I'm going to find him." And then,
oh shit! I think I remember seeing panels of this. Okay.
It's a really good book. Yeah, so Superman,
he basically
busts and he just steals the boy. He's like, "You're gonna be with me now."
And he goes to his parents' house. He's like, "Hey, how did you steal me?"
Yeah, how did you do this? And they're like, "We got you, fam." And then they teach him how to make fake IDs. It's so funny.
Oh my word!
I love the Kents. They're great.
Yes.
I think every interpretation of the Kents, whether it be Ma and Pa Kent are both still alive, or it's just Ma Kent, or if they're both dead. I like all versions of them. Yep. There's never been a version of them I don't like to some extent. They're always great. So then the Phantom Zone gets busted open, blah, 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 shenanigans ensue. They're like, "That's our son!" And the boy's like, "No, Dad, fuck you." That's basically most of the story. It's just about Superman coming to grips with not being the last Kryptonian alive. They mention numerous times. It's like, well, actually, the Phantom Zone is just full of Kryptonians. There's just a fuck ton of them in there because that's where they sent their criminals. And it's like, so I am the last one, but like not really. But they're all like genocidal monsters. So what does that mean about me? You know, like all sorts of fun stuff there. Eventually, the boy has to go back into the Phantom Zone to destroy it or to pull his parents back through. You know, he does his whole, I choose these people, you know, Clark is my daddy, the whole 9 yards. Exactly what you'd expect. And then he goes back in, and then there's another, I believe it's Mon-El. It's another Kryptonian character who I have very little familiarity with. He becomes relevant at some points in the Superman comics. Basically, he's a guy who got sent into the Phantom Zone in a previous version of Superman. There's some mind wipe stuff going on. But basically, Superman had like forcefully forgotten that he had sent someone into the Phantom Zone to keep him from dying because time stops there. Hence why Zod's like 40 and not like ancient. So then he, you know, the two of them communicate. He remembers who he is, and, you know, he's all sad because he trapped someone to like basically living forever, but in a hellscape. And then Mon-El like tries to find this kid. I don't remember his name. You know, like he gets lost in the Phantom Zone at the end, and this guy, like, they can communicate because Superman has like a Phantom Zone TV, basically. And the book ends with Mon-El just trying to keep going on expeditions through the Phantom Zone is this incomprehensible weird scape of stuff. Like, there are buildings and cities and worlds there. It's a whole thing. So he just keeps trying to find this kid. I think they find him eventually in another story. They bring him back temporarily. He was received okay-ish, but it was definitely a prototype for what if we make Superman a dad, the best decision DC's ever made. I like it. It's really good. There are some Jeff Johns moments, a writer who I'm kind of getting sullied on as time goes on. There are some jokes that don't 100% land. There's some goofball shit. But Richard Donner is one of those guys who just understands Superman. And yes, a lot of the energy he brings to this book is a lot of retreading stuff from the two Superman movies he made, but I think that's fine. I think that's kind of what Superman needed in this period in time, because that wasn't what he had in continuity as like his story. They're just things that we think of in the cultural osmosis that aren't actually canon to the comics, like Batman being trained by the League of Shadows. That's not a thing.
No.
That's just what a lot of people think because the Nolan movies did it. They were really popular. And sometimes people act like it was a thing, but it's not. It wasn't part of the actual story. So I think it was a good idea to bring Donner in to kind of bring in some of those plot elements of his movies that a lot of people really enjoyed. It's got a nice vibe to it. I think that's the thing that's more important than a lot of those plot specifics that maybe aren't the most well polished. Really good character interactions, a lot of really good panel work. Just good, wholesome Superman shit. But it's Superman in crisis, but also still Superman. And that's the thing that, like, it just seems like so many people get so really upset by when it's like, Superman's having self-doubt. And it's like, oh my God, he's so sad. It's like, that's like every book.
Oh my God.
Superman's always doing that. You can present it in ways that don't feel right. I get that. But this book does that. He's constantly like, what the fuck am I doing? I am stealing a genocidal warlord's son and keeping him as my own, and like what am I doing here? You know? But it just is good. It's good. It's got some of that people believe in Superman so he can do anything energy, and that's kind of what you need.
All right, so how would you rate it?
I don't know, man. I gave it like a 5-star on Goodreads. I bought it used, I think at Stairway for like $10. I think it's like a $15 to $18 trade. It's like 5 or so issues. It's worth cover price. It's a really good book. It's a very good, despite the fact that it takes place in the ongoing Action Comics run, it's a nice little, somewhat contained story. It's a good, I wouldn't say entry point exactly. Like, it doesn't start off anything, but if you're someone who hasn't read Superman recently, or like, you're just not super familiar, it's not the worst story you can start with. It's got a lot of classic Superman energy. It's got a little bit of modernization in it. It's got Superman going through some emotional crises. It has some bits from the movies you might recognize. It's a very well-rounded book.
Yep.
I dig it.
All right.
What else you got, bitch?
Well, I forgot to mention something about the Demolition Man that I wanted to say.
What?
Because I thought it was strangely relevant. when they're in the movie, they're like releasing all Wesley Snipes is like releasing all the bad guys from the cryo prison because he just wants to, I guess. And
I'm an agent of chaos.
yeah, and one of the last people, he's like, who do we have left? He goes through a list. He goes, Daniel, blah 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 blah, Jeffrey Dahmer. Oh, I love that guy.
What the fuck?
And I was like, what the fuck?
That's so weird.
I was watching that like now. I'm like, that's so fucking crazy that this shit keeps happening to me when I'm watching these movies like years, like almost like, decades later from like when they came out. Because like Blade Runner, the first Blade Runner, I watched that in 2019 when it was like taking place in 2019. I'm like, okay, that's weird. But then this one was worse because we just had like, 2 Jeffrey Dahmer somethings, like a show and a movie recently. The show more recently. Jeffrey Dahmer, I love that guy. What the fuck?
That's so weird.
But moving on to a talking point. Give me a question.
Fuck you.
I'm
gonna make it a Superman related one because that's where my brain is right now.
Okay, fine.
If you had to design a costume for Superman, whether it be for like a regular, like a default costume, not a weird, crazy thing, just this is what he's going to wear for this movie, TV show, comic run, whatever. What would it be? What would it consist of? Describe, how do you want it? Underpants, no underpants, shade of blue. Do you want how do you want the cape to drape? All of it.
Listen, shut your fucking mouth. First off, the cape needs to sit like Knight's armor cape. Kind of like Man of Steel cape.
Yeah.
Where it's like, it's not tucked into the shirt. It's like plated in, kind of. But, so I guess there would be like maybe hints of silver, or maybe just like blue plating. Whatever. It's Kryptonian technology. Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
The suit is not from his mom on Earth that made it. It's Kryptonian.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be from the crash site.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the traditional red and blue.
Okay. So when you say what, like, are you talking
traditional red and blue?
Like, give me an example of that, because there's a lot of traditional red. Like, what shade? Like the Reeves movies,
yes,
like that. Okay.
Reeves.
Okay.
Traditional red and blue.
Okay.
Big Superman chest emblem. Like, it covers his whole chest. It's not just like a stupid, like, small one. Stop doing that. It's like a big, giant one. He's got almost like a barrel chest type of thing. He has...
What type of crest?
It would probably be... it's difficult. When I was younger, I always did the Kingdom Come crest. I liked that one a lot. But I think it would just be the normal crest that we see, like normal Superman S. Black innard instead of yellow.
Yeah.
He has the Superman on the cape.
No!
I love the Superman symbol on the cape. But listen, it's like embroidered, and it's the same color as the cape.
Okay, now we're talking.
There we go. That's what I like. It's embroidered. It's the same thickness as this on the chest, but it's embroidered on the cape, and it's the same color as the cape.
Okay, I buy
It's just
it.
a texture thing.
Yeah, that's fair.
There you go.
You could do some fun shadow work with that, too.
Yeah, you could.
Interesting.
It's a texture thing.
Mm-hmm.
He has big old booties, like normal. And it's got like that M shape, like from the Justice League cartoons.
Mm-hmm.
Like on the top of the boot, it's like
Yeah.
that weird M shape. Of course, utility belt, where it's like he has the underwear, but the utility belt is kind of like has the little belt loops.
Yeah, I can see it.
So it's kind of like a normal Superman, except embroidered S on the back and big chest symbol, and also the cape isn't tucked into the shirt; it's like attached.
Yeah, I can see that. So, what color is the utility belt? Yellow?
Might be like charcoal, kind of like charcoal. Like, so the inside of the S would be like maybe like a charcoal. Like, it's almost black,
Yeah.
but it's like kind of like this.
Yeah.
Like your hoodie. Sorry for the people listening.
It's a dark gray.
Yeah, it's like a dark gray, and so would probably the utility belt type of thing. But it's not really a...
What shape is the belt buckle?
I was just going to get to that. Probably like squarish.
Interesting.
I don't like the oval that much. Might be squarish, and I don't like the Superman symbol on the belt buckle.
That's a bit much.
Yeah, so it'd be like, or I'm sorry, rectangular, not squarish.
Yeah.
Rectangular.
Does he have what do the wrists look like? Are there any? Does it just end? Is it just blue all the way to the wrist?
It might be like a. So you know that like kind of metallic part that like his cape's attached.
Yeah.
It would kind of be something like that, maybe, or maybe it would just end.
Interesting.
I really would have to draw it to like figure it out.
Interesting.
And maybe not the M's on the boots. Maybe it's just like normal, fucking boots. But it's all like, it's like skin tight, of course.
Interesting.
Skin tight where when he moves it does wrinkle.
That's hot.
Yes.
Nice. I can get on board with this.
And of course it has the curl.
Well, yeah. Superman with no hair curl is no Superman.
Yes. So yeah,
I could see that.
I really like the idea for the embroidered.
That's an interesting one. I hadn't thought of that.
I've never heard of that before.
That's interesting.
Never heard of that before, and I just came up with it on the spot.
How long do you want the cape? Do you want it like dragging on the ground?
I kind of like it where like the size of the Batman's cape.
Yeah.
I kind of like it that way, but it makes him look like Superman's not supposed to feel childish. So I think it would be like Man of Steel size. So it would kind of maybe be dragging on the cape.
Big dragon drapey thing.
Yeah, I think it would.
I like it when Shazam has the mini cape.
I wasn't saying mini cape though.
No, like not mini cape. Like the Batman and like upwards. I like that
like
sometimes.
It's like it stops at the Achilles heel.
Yeah,
that's what it would be. That's normal Superman.
Somewhere in there. Flat bottom.
Yeah. Flat bottom.
Interesting.
I haven't seen anything else. What? Has anyone?
I don't know. Maybe you want to do a Batman on the bottom. I don't fucking know. You can come up with all sorts of weird shit.
No, it just doesn't fit Superman.
That's why I'm asking.
Yeah. Superman, you kind of have to keep the basics. Not because you can't change his outfit, but because the basic suit says so much about him.
I think
it like represents him so well.
It's something that's kind of I plugged a video recently, which was really interesting. It's from Nando V Movies. He has a second channel where he does like random bullshit. It's underwear discourse. And it's one of the things where I thought was interesting. It's like, I don't necessarily agree on the underwear itself, but I get the mentality behind it. Is like, if you aren't able to make the underwear work, maybe you shouldn't be doing Superman. And I get it. I don't necessarily agree on that. I think you don't. I think in the comics you should pretty much always have the underwear. I think movies, I get sometimes not, like whatever. But I get that's something I get in my mind where it's like there are some things that like there's so much of his costume like it can be kind of silly and like overly vibrant. Like that's kind of the point.
Like, hey, here I am. I'm a shining light.
Right. Like you don't when you hyper fixate on making it different than that, like you're kind of missing the point. Like you can do that with a lot of characters. You can do all sorts of shit with like a Batman costume.
Yeah.
But like Superman is like there's some. How many parts of the ship of Theseus do you remove before it's no longer the same ship?
Yeah.
You know. And I think because Batman just has more elements to his suit, you can kind of remove a lot more. You can fuck around with it a lot.
He also has like more to his personality in the sense of like what he is shown to be. There's different there's brawler Batman, there's like horror Batman, there's all these things. But Superman is like I am shining light. I am a father of 2, or I'm a father of 1. I have a wife.
Yeah.
I'm blah blah blah.
I think it's also because Batman typically isn't in the daytime as much. So even though you can do so many different detail work, he's still at the black blob with the little pointy ears in the corner. Like you can do so many things with that.
Pointy ears and the eyes.
Every Batman kind of looks like that, and that's the thing. Whereas Superman, there's a lot of superheroes because he was the first that look really similar. So when you start stripping away some of those things, it can get kind of meh.
Or if,
you should. I don't know. I'm assuming you've seen it by now, but the version of it was a very loose adaptation of the Kingdom Come suit, but for what's his name? Fuck. Is this the actor who did it? It was during the Crisis crossover they did. Crossover was bad, but it was
looked good.
Yeah, it was what's his name? He played Superman in Superman Returns, and then they have but like they had one. super wasted in that movie. He is really good, especially in that crossover. He's the best thing there. But that suit's pretty close to what you're describing because he's got them big old boy panties on, and it is mostly darker, but like it's still vibrant and pops.
Yes.
But it also has the black background.
I think the black makes like the red pop more. I think the yellow might be a little too much.
I tend to agree. That's why I like either black or charcoal, or that's why I like the silver editions on like the Man of Steel suit in particular. I actually like. I have a hot take on that one. I like originally the Man of Steel suit didn't have any yellow on it. They changed that in production. The teaser image for the costume, the emblem is just the same blue background as the thing. I like that. I like the it gives it like the silver with the dark navy with the like maroon. It's like it's smooth.
Yes.
It's got something to it. Whereas like there's a time and a place for like gold and whatever, and that's fine. But like there's something about that. It just tickles my brain.
It tickles the worm in the back of your brain.
It does. It's slippery.
You know what tickles my brain?
Jeff Lawrence tickles your brain.
Yes.
Yes. Big thank you to our patrons over at patreon.com/Dime Comic Bros Network. Jeff Lawrence, buddy of ours, and Caitlin. They keep the lights on. Jeff recently put out another issue of a comic he's been working on that we finally got our grubby hands on.
Yes.
Well, I got my hands on it a couple weeks ago. But we'll be sure to plug that. He's been doing some great work. Colin hung out with him yesterday, so that's why
And today.
Yeah, okay.
He got me amazing Christmas presents.
Yeah. If you want to get exclusive access to Dime Comic Bros and Dime Gaming Bros Happy Hour, where whoever's hosting the podcast just kind of crack open a beer, talk mad shit, talk about whatever. That's exclusive to our Patreon. You also get early access to all of our podcasts by a couple of days. That includes Dime Comic Bros, this podcast, and our secondary podcast, Dime Gaming Bros, where Jacob and I talk about video games and stuff. Also get exclusive clips and segments, just random stuff we pull out of the podcast because it makes no sense. But sometimes we drop some funny memes, as well as stickers, all designs done by Colin. Fucking gassy.
Smell it.
As well as sketches and commissions, all sorts of fun stuff. If you want to help support the show, it's greatly appreciated. Also, a thank you to our partners over at Jetpack Comics and Games in downtown Rochester, New Hampshire. That's where we buy almost all of our current ongoing comics or miniseries. They have trades, omnibuses, as we call them on this show, absolute editions, hardcovers, deluxe edition, everything you can imagine. They got lots of game stuff, card games, dice games, board games, party games, video games, all the stuff. So go show them some love from us. Be greatly appreciated. Next episode is going to be a news week as well as a few talking points because it's just we're in a little bit of a slow period for stuff. Thank God, need the break. Hopefully it'll be all three of us. We'll have a hoot and a holler of a time. Make sure to tune in for that. If you want to check out our website, it's dimecomicbros.com. Send us an email at dimecomicbros@gmail.com if you have any feedback, questions, concerns, comments, etc. Go check out our Twitter and Instagram for updates, teasers, and assorted memeage. And we'll see you next week, but not with our eyes. You'll hear us with your ears. We won't hear you because you can't talk.
I'm going to hear you shitting.
What?
Yep.
Oh, dear.
Bye. I like being the guy that's not really talking to other people. Just like, hey, do you want artwork? Or can you do artwork for me? And I'm like, yeah, here's budget, here's that, and I'll do it for you. But other than that, I'm like, you want friends? Here's Jacob and Spencer. I'm not the guy.
Yeah. Scooby-Doo.